Today we're going to be looking at how the push of the trail hand or the trail arm and the pull of the lead hand or lead arm can help a player to move better with the bigger segments and really help them to refine and improve their impact position. Hope you enjoy this one. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me again. Little break there. I actually had a little niggly back tightness that really prevented me from shooting any videos over the last few weeks, so just pumped to be back here. And as always, I'm taking suggestions for videos. If you've got any issues or consistent, say, questions you have for your own swing that you'd like me to shoot a video on, then please feel free to put your suggestions in the description. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit subscribe. I thank you all for your support that I've had so far, and I look forward to shooting many more videos as we go on. So today's video is actually in response to a lesson that I gave recently, and the player just had a common pattern that I see fairly often with a number of players, and that was he's very active with his trail arm through impact and not so let's say active with his bigger segments. So he wasn't getting very open with his bigger segments. Be a lot of, especially through his right elbow there coming through the shot, there'd be a lot of activity, and you would see it also in the face as well on the lead side. Be a lot of face rotation through impact, and just made it really hard as well when you see that pattern for the player to control their low point, because the bigger segments are not working like they'd hoped to do so in the golf swing. So today I'm just going to share one of the concepts that we went over. We cleaned up the player's backswing a little bit, but the concept I'm going to share with you is in relation to how when you see a lot of activity through the right arm or the trail arm with a player, it is in response a lot of the time to the inactivity of the pull of the lead arm or the lead hand, however we'd want to look at it there. So for this player here, essentially I'm not going to try and take away the movement of the right arm. I'm going to encourage and improve movement of the lead arm or pulling more on the club from the lead side, so that the player no longer needs to speed up the trail arm to get the club on the ball. Because essentially, like always, and I think you probably heard me mention this before, when we see a particular pattern in the golf swing, especially when it's in the downswing, often it's that pattern that's standing out that's making the swing work. So what we need to do is get to a place where when we see that pattern, it's making the swing not work. So what we did with the player was we encouraged more of a pull from the lead side. I explained conceptually that if you look at good golfers, once the club is working in the release phase, there's a mass that's pulling the club that way. So the body needs to pull back on the club to manage it well in the follow through and to help it decelerate in a way that's just healthy for the body and where we have a good amount of control. So if the body doesn't rotate and the club gets to here, then I'm not in a good position to decelerate the club. I essentially want my midline of my body somewhat lined up with the club so that I can pull back on it effectively. So with the player, we covered the conceptual aspect of it there in the follow through. We want the body matching up with the club, and the player really connected with just lead arm swing. So I'd get the player to just make a simple swing back, and I'd get them to swing down. I would want them to stop the club right around where the lead foot was with the club face aimed at the target. And see, in order to stop it, the body would have to be rotated more that way, more towards the target. If I leave my body somewhat close to the ball, I'm not going to be able to stop it, and the club is going to turn over really quickly. We're going to lose control of the face. So let's get the body facing the target there, and that would almost be the player's reference point back here. And then the player would then start to feed back to me like, oh, in that position, I feel like my left shoulder is working more up and around. I feel my lower body working more in the way that it is here. So from that simple rehearsal there, the player was able to build awareness of where they wanted their body. And then when they were working into the downswing there, now they had a sense of like, oh, because of the pull, the hand doesn't speed up as early as it was speeding up. Because of the pull, they're getting more open, so the rotation of the bigger segments was happening better in the downswing so that they didn't have to speed up the right hand to get the club to the ball. Okay, so the player then would take the single arm rehearsals into like a double arm rehearsal where they'd get there with their body nicely at the target, and then they'd have to learn how to get here and then move through to a finish position. Because once a player then learns what the newer finish position feels like, you can use it as a great checkpoint. And I like that for players to take to the golf course. When you've got a finish and they're like, oh, that feels different, it's like, okay, go to the course, play, good setup, and let's get a good finish. Because to achieve that finish, you've most likely got to do a reasonable job of the things that we're working on that helped you to get there. Okay, so I'm not going to hit any today just because I am just getting back from the back fin that way. But the player would, couple of one arm rehearsals, really important when the player did this, that they kept their head behind the ball. So wherever the head was at address, we're keeping the head behind the ball. If the head gets ahead, really hard to get the body open. So the player fed back from the position they were in. They were like, wow, that feels really open, and like their head is staying behind the ball a lot. But then when I videoed it from face on, you could see, okay, the head wasn't actually moving backwards as he thought it was doing just because of the feeling. So there's that feel and reel reference as well. So if you're a player and you're noticing a lot of right arm activity in the shot, the right hand and arm is speeding up earlier because the bigger segments are slowing down. And one thing that helps the bigger segments to move better in the downswing is the right amount of pull, the right amount of stretch across that lead side. So you can use that stretch to help you to get more open with your body and settle down that right arm.